Hi everyone, I'm Brad Davidson from Inside Edge Novated Leasing. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm excited to share a short video featuring our director, Andrew Kerr. Andrew addresses some hot business topics such as modern day leadership, the importance of culture, and industry disruption. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Daniel Odman, Sales Director at BMW Group Australia, and today I'm joined by Andrew Kerr, Director of Sales and Marketing at Inside Edge Novated Leasing, to talk about his views on leadership, culture, transformation and disruption in the industry. Well, Andrew, welcome again. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and the Inside Edge organisation?
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Yes, I've been basically in the automotive industry now for the best part of all my career, so 30 years. And I've been in fleet management, I've been in automotive, I've worked for BMW Australia here. And the organisation we have now, Inside Edge Novated Leasing, has been going for about 6 years now. And we have established ourselves as provider of leasing and advice to a lot of Australia's largest public companies, where we advise employees on the type of cars they're looking at buying and how the best way is to structure it from a tax and a finance point of view.
Brilliant. You talked a little bit about your background and the length of your career in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about how your views on leadership have changed over the last couple of decades? Yeah,
it's an interesting question. It's something that I think a lot about because when you're in a leadership role, you need to constantly review how you're being perceived and how effective you are. And I guess over my career, and I know this has been well documented, but it's something that I think is still very relevant. Once upon a time, you were promoted to a leader because you were particularly good in your field, and then you took on that sort of the sergeant of the army, where the way you said things was how they were done. I think that's perhaps the old way. I think now I've changed my leadership style to be more like the conductor of the orchestra, in that I can't be everything to everyone. And I think there was a pivotal time in my leadership where I realised that if I give up my need to be right, I can achieve a lot more from a business point of view. And that means that I'm listening to the people that I'm working with. And I find it really helps create a really good team environment. So yeah, that's what I've found that's changed, and I've thought about that, especially for today's interview. So that's effectively how I think I've changed my leadership.
And do you think they're keys to how you see yourself as being respected and authentic? Are there other things that maybe influence that?
Yeah, I think we all make mistakes, and I think leaders who try and varnish their mistakes or don't acknowledge their mistakes or don't learn from their mistakes, that's when you're in trouble, because you lose your authenticity. But we all make mistakes, and I think the best thing to do is you say, guys, this is what's happened, we've made a mistake. How are we going to fix it and learn from it and make sure that it doesn't repeat again, and make sure we fix any outcome that may have come from that issue?
We live in a fairly diverse world here in Australia, and culturally other things. Do you change your leadership style based on kind of the people, the age of the people that you're looking after, or for other backgrounds or other reasons?
Well, this is something I know that you're very aware of. Probably what's helped me change my management style is when you have children. It's interesting. I think if you assess parenthood, you deal with a 4-year-old different than you deal with a 12-year-old, different you deal with an 18-year-old. And sometimes you might vary all three combinations depending on how old and there's an 18-year-old needs to be treated like a 4-year-old. So yes, you definitely vary. You have to vary your management style. It's hard to do it on a group basis. If you're talking to a group of 20 people, while it might be time efficient, I don't think it's as effective as taking away groups aside and speaking to them specific to their age and their demographic and management style that they're looking for.
So very much an individual approach.
Absolutely.
How important, and could you describe maybe the culture of your organisation, or your view on the culture of your organisation, and how important do you think it is?
Culture is absolutely paramount, and I think that's unfortunately, I think too often we hire on aptitude and fire on attitude. And I think if there's more attention given to the culture at the beginning of the employment of someone, I think that goes a long way to inculcating the culture to the organisation. And in every role that I've had, even in my position here at BMW, one of the things they asked me to do was to get the team working and get them moving in the right direction.
Yep.
And that can only come down to culture. Most people can do the job you ask them to do.
Yep.
It's a matter of making sure that they enjoy coming to work, and they feel that they're being stimulated at work. And you'll find that that's what I think goes to improving the culture and having that cultural feel. We all spend way too much time away from our families. We work hard at the culture on the family, but we spend more time at work.
Yep.
And it's important that people get up in the morning and know that they're coming to a place they want to come to and want to work at.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really important that vision topic you're talking about, and also the way you communicate it on an ongoing basis. How important do you think it is for an organisation to be agile in this hyper-competitive, fast-paced environment that we live in today?
I think we're a little bit too obsessed with being agile,
Yep.
And I think there's some amazing technological changes going on out there,
Yep.
and you look at the way that the younger generation communicates with each other compared to perhaps how we did when
Yep.
we were teenagers and so forth, and I think the challenge for organisations is to make sure that the technology and the changes that they embrace is relevant to their circumstances and their customer base.
Yep.
I think you possibly agree with me that there have been a lot of technological changes which are wonderful and cost savings for the company, but don't necessarily improve the experience
Yeah.
for the customer.
Absolutely.
And an example of that, I think, is call centres.
Mm-hmm.
We're now getting call centres calling us from all over the world because the technology enables us to do so.
Yep.
But I'm not sure it's improved the customer experience on the end of the phone, because not too many people speak too highly of call centres.
Yeah.
So I think that's just one example of where the technology's there, but it's management's responsibility to make sure that technology is relevant to the business and relevant to the customers.
Okay. In terms then of that agility and some of those technological advancements, how do you maintain sustainability, control of the processes in that type of environment, different people, different technology that you may not have been familiar with at the start of your career?
Well, I think that goes back to what I said before, is the minute you give up the need to be right all the time,
Yep.
You're able to then listen to what's happening. And I've called it wrong on many occasions in our organisation, especially with social media. I've got to say, I've been on Facebook. I was an early adopter of Facebook from a friend's point of view,
Yep.
but I couldn't see how it translated to our business, and I was resistant to that. But some of our staff said, no, you've got to be there. I had to take the hands off the reins and say, okay then, show me it and show me the results. And the results have been absolutely fantastic. It's been good for our business and good for our organisation. Now, had I stuck to my guns, we would have missed that opportunity.
Yep. Now, obviously with every business, there's key stakeholders, your team members, the community, your customers, the owners and investors and whatever else. How has that trend towards this kind of disruptive environment, hyper competition, changed the way that you interact with those key stakeholders?
And that's an interesting question. I've got perhaps I'm sounding my age now, but this term disruption, I feel, is not a new concept. It's something that's been around since businesses were created. Every new business is essentially a disruptor to the status quo. That's why they go into business. So I think we've found a really apt way to describe it now, but any business that doesn't see itself as a disruptor is going to fall by the wayside pretty quickly. And we have examples of that every day of the week. But disruption is what we do every day.
Yeah, and you guys are pioneers, I guess, in many ways in disrupting. So how do you think your business will change then in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you see a positive outlook for the future?
Yeah, our business is positioned really, really well because we've seen a lot of acquisitions of our competitors into large public companies. We're one of the last privately owned companies. And the way in which we disrupt is we almost stay the same. In that a lot of these large companies are looking for ways to cut costs and reduce their overheads and reduce their headcount and things like that. We're perhaps going in the traditional way where we've got people who are trained really well, they're smart people, and they pick up the phone and speak to our customers, and our customers like that. In fact, we have a policy in the office of anything more than 3 emails is a telephone call. So if we're emailing somebody, a customer, and there's been more than 3, that's time where we pick up the phone and speak to them, because we're all of a sudden in a conversation with them. And that's where I feel email is fantastic at conveying information, but it's not so good at having a conversation. And that's something that's a bit old-fashioned, but a lot of our competitors are forcing everyone to talk by email all the time, and the message is not getting through, and it's not as effective as picking up the phone and speaking to someone.
And depersonalises the experience and is not as customer friendly.
Well, we like to say that we're a customer-focused organisation. Well, it's hard to focus on the customer if you're just talking to them via a keyboard, I believe.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because effectively what you're saying is that where you're disrupting is by being traditional, and you are remaining agile because you're not getting big, you're not necessarily going down that path of consolidation, which is great. Finally, how do you, in times of uncertainty, in times of change and disruption and transformation, how important do you think your communication style is to advancing the organisation's objectives?
Well, I think one of the fundamentals of business is that change is always good for business. And anyone who runs a business should look for that opportunity for change. But as a result of that, we need to recognise that change doesn't suit a lot of people. And a lot of people, especially employees new to an organisation, they see things changing and they feel a level of uncertainty to that. And the only way that you can address that is by strong communication. And you use your experience and you use the history to show people that, hey, we've been here before, we've seen these changes before, they might be different, but we're going to go through this and let's embrace the change and make sure we work it to our advantage. And we see that daily. Being a small organisation, you tend to, you're a little bit like the little tugboat pushing the Queen Mary around. You tend to feel the bumps a little bit before those sitting up in the bridge of the big ship. So so I think that's it. It's strong communication by allowing people to understand all the ramifications of the change. It's good for business.
Brilliant. Well, I think no better way to finish on that note. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate you sharing your insights.
Thank you, Daniel, and good luck with the program.
Brilliant. Cheers.